Radha, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Everybody, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Please now, may obeisances, Dandavat Pranams. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रवाचक आचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद् अभय चरणारविंद भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, भगवद गीता की जय, वेद शास्त्र की जय, इस्कॉन हेलसिंकी धाम की जय,
हरि हरि बोल.
So thank you very much everybody for being here. Such a nice group of souls visiting our temple. This is the most important thing of the week which one can do. Generally we think there are other duties which one can do, and this is just something you do for fun, or a cultural activity, ethnic activity, some kind of mystical, spiritual fun. But actually this is a very important thing known as satsanga. Satsanga means spiritual association, spiritual assembly for developing higher consciousness. So actually it's very powerful that we're all here together. And just one moment fully absorbed in the kirtan, in the katha, it can make a profound effect in your life. So I'm very grateful that all of you have come, very enthusiastically chanting and listening. And that way you will have lots of food for your soul. So today's class is a very simple but profound verse, which is listing the different qualities of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. What is the nature of God? So it's a very interesting class. It's a very deep class, so we have to listen very carefully and absorb. So we're going to be studying Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 8, text number 9. So this will be the verse. You can see it on the board there. So if you like, you can repeat after me. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram.
Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram.
Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram.
Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram.
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredyaha.
Anoraniyam Samanusmaretat.
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredyaha.
Anoraniyam Samanusmaretat.
Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam.
Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam.
Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam.
Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam.
Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
So we like two volunteers, one from the men, one from the ladies. So anyone like to go first? Just one volunteer each to save time.
Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram. Anoraniyam Samanusmareyat. Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam. Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
One of the ladies, please, if somebody would like to sing. If not, we will continue. No problem. No volunteers? We have many.
Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram.
Kavim Puranam Anusasitaram.
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredyaha.
Anoraniyam Samanusmaredyaha.
Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam.
Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam.
Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat.
Thank you very much. So this is the translation. We can all read it together. Everyone can recite at the same time as me. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller,
Who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is the transcendental, beyond this material nature.
So it's a very deep verse. Very, very deep. Many, many lessons will be had from this verse. So we will look at the different elements which are contained in this verse. It's a very rich verse, so we will break it down piece by piece to understand a little bit more. So the first word we see here is kavim. So anybody remember this word kavi before? Sometimes in India we hear this word kavi.
Poet.
Like a poet, right? Poet. Sometimes it's used in other senses. Anyone can think any other sense is used? Kavi? Like Kaviraj. Sometimes also as a doctor, right? Sometimes we say Kaviraj as a doctor. Especially in Bengal, they use this word for doctor. So it means somebody who is very expert, actually. So poetry is one type of expertise, but there are many other types of expertise. So one who knows everything. So this number one, Kavi. And then we see Kavi Puranam. Puranam means, anybody knows? Puranam, yeah, but it refers to scriptures, but what does it mean? It means very old, right? Very old. So the Lord is the most ancient. And then the third one, Anushasitaram. So Shastra, everyone knows this one, right? Shastra? That's connected to that one. So Puranam and Anushasitaram. So these are the two next one. Then Anor Aniyam. So maybe you heard this in another verse, very ancient verse from the Vedas. Anor Aniyam Hato Mahiyam. So what does it mean? Anu or Anor? Something small, right? So therefore, next one. Anor Aniyam, one who is smaller than the smallest. So it sounds like contradiction, right? Because God is greater than the greatest. But actually the opulence of being small is that you're the smallest, right? Because then you're unique. The opulence of being great is that you're greater than the great. What is the opulence of darkness? The most dark, right? So therefore, what is called the tamaha, this is a suffix which means the top of those things. So God is not only the greatest of the great, but He's also the smallest of the small. And then Sarvasya Dhataram. So it means the one who is the maintainer of everything, one who is actually keeping everything maintained and preserved in its natural state. And then Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam. So Achintya everyone knows, eh? What does this word mean?
Oh, it's gone now. Sorry. Became lost. Go back to this one.
Third.
I know why.
Because my mouse is broken on this laptop, so it's clicking stuff. So I turned off the mouse now. Okay. I have to get a new mouse pad, but I have to change it. So Sarvasya Dhataram, one who is maintaining everything. And then Achintya Rupam, whose form is inconceivable. So you know this word Achintya and Rupa, many of you. And then Aditya Varnam. So who does Aditya refer to? Anybody remember?
Sun.
The sun, right? And then Tamasa Parastat. So that means one who is transcendental to material nature. So before we go any further, I would just like to ask, is anybody here for the first time? Thank you very much for coming. Yourself also, your name? Jarno. Okay. You're from Helsinki? Yeah. Very nice. And then yourself? Pekka, okay.
Helsinki.
You're welcome. So don't worry, there's a lot of Sanskrit language here, so it may be, whoa, very scary, too much foreign words. Not easy to digest, right? But the reason that we keep very strongly to these ancient words, there's a whole explanation I can give, 5 hours, but the very short form is that Sanskrit is one of the most advanced languages in the world, which is confirmed by all major Western universities, even directly confirmed by the British government whilst they were in India. One of their lords, he was called Sir William Jones. When he studied the Sanskrit language, he said that it is more copious than the Greek, more ancient than the European languages, but it's part of the family of these European languages. Although Finnish itself is quite a unique language, nobody knows where it comes from. Finnish and the influence of Finnish on Estonian. Some people, they speculate, is connected to Hungarian also, but nobody really knows. So we're in quite a special place, Finland. So in order to preserve this knowledge, to preserve this message, it's very important to preserve the language in which it was originally transmitted. therefore things do not get lost in translation, right? So Finland is more inclined to Protestantism or Catholicism? Okay, so that's Protestant, right? Yeah. So generally evangelists, they're more Protestant. So it means that in this country, people often quote one very famous verse from the Bible. Does anyone know what is a very famous verse from the Bible? For preaching to people as evangelists, there is the most favorite verse everyone loves. So I am the way, the truth, and the light. No one comes through the Father but through me, right? This is a particular quote in the book of John. But even that particular verse, it cannot be translated properly into English because English does not have sufficient complexity in language. So in Spanish, for instance, or Russian, anybody speak Russian? So Russian, Ukrainsky, so Slavic languages are quite advanced. Finnish also probably, I never studied it, so I don't know. But English is a very kind of simple language, so most of its complexity has been lost over time. For instance, you used to be thee or thou, now it's you. But you used to be the formal case, and thee used to be the informal case. So in that verse in the Bible, which everyone used for preaching, Jesus doesn't say, I am the way, truth, and the light in the sense of eternal time. Because in many languages, this declaration, I am, it has two variants. One is I am, like if you say, I am sick for 2 days, does it mean you're sick for your whole life? No, right? But in English, you just say, I am sick. But if you have a, what do we call a condition, very deep condition, like you have a blood problem or you have some kind of digestive issue or even you're mentally unwell, then if you say, I am sick, you're referring to your life in general, right? Therefore, I am has two sides, the temporary state and then the permanent state. But in English, that doesn't exist. So even that particular verse, when people quote it in conversion drives, unfortunately, they cannot use even the right language to explain what Jesus said because it's not available in the English language. But when you keep the original texts, then there is very strong evidence, strong faith, and trust in what knowledge you're receiving is not just made up in the mind of somebody, but it's actually there originally in the texts. Just like in the old part of Europe, in the olden days in Europe, not everybody accepted the Trinity. Everyone believe in the Trinity here, Trinity, Christianity. For instance, in Italy, there was one guy. He was called what was his name? Already I've forgotten due to the brain of the modern age. He was called Arian. Arian was his name. So he was against this concept of the Trinity. He said, no, Jesus and God are not the same. Jesus is the Son, and then the Father is the Father. And they're individually distinct. And then not only that, but there are about 17 variations of this concept of what is the Trinity. But due to political power of a particular church in Europe, then they basically decided anyone who doesn't accept this particular, what we call theological position, should either convert or be killed. It sounds very like I'm exaggerating, but this is just the history of religion in Europe. So many thousands of people were killed, and then later other people were killed also for other reasons, like witch trials and so many things. So we see that the study of theology is very complicated, right? Very deep, and people even fight about it. And many people, for not accepting the Trinity, they lost their life. Imagine it. But the ironic thing is, there is not one unequivocal verse in the Bible which clearly states that the Trinity exists. There's just, you could indirectly extrapolate from that verse. And then even if you say there's some form of Trinity, if it's that there are three divisions of the same thing, or are there three things which are simultaneously complete, or is one bigger than the other one, or you have different variations within the three in one, right? So it's a very complicated thing, but none of that is in the Bible. So it's all came later on by contemporary scholars. But the nice thing in the Vedic literatures is, just like this particular verse, the whole theology is contained in Bhagavad Gita, and any strong position, such as the Trinity, which is the foundational point, is not going to be missing from the Gita. So therefore, you do not need to speculate what things are. You do not need to extrapolate from 2-3 words and then make a whole philosophy which people can die from. All you need to do is just read the words. If you say, I don't believe Prabhupada translated correctly, Prabhupada says, no problem, I put the synonyms under the verse so you can see and manually check one by one. And there are many ancient Sanskrit dictionaries which you can check, which go back thousands of years. So in this way, our tradition becomes very strong and has high levels of integrity. So these are the 8 aspects which we're learning just in one verse. So we'll unpack them. We have only limited time, so we'll unpack them in a very summarized form. But each aspect, you can talk 1 hour about each aspect. So the first one is, can anyone read it on the board? What does it say? Please say it out loud together. Yes. So one who knows everything. So as I was explaining, you do not need to speculate, you do not need to invent things which are not in the text. Even if you're confused, all you need to do is just read them. And then you can also look to the ancient commentators, the ancient scholars, on how they define each word. So this is how the word Kavi is defined. That Kavi Jnanavan Bhavati, that a Kavi is one who possesses knowledge. So in other words, Krishna is the one who possesses knowledge. And then, because they receive the truth, so Drishta means to see. The Rishis, they are called Kavis. Rishi means those who practice spiritual path and then they can actually observe reality. It's no longer a theory, it's no longer a feeling, oh, I think I believe in this, but tomorrow I'll believe in something else. That is not spiritual, that is still trying to ascend to some kind of spiritual understanding. But the Rishi means one who has drishya, who has vision. So the first thing is one who knows everything. So what is the ancient tradition of the texts of India called? Does anybody know? It's V, beginning with V, anyone can say? Veda, right? Yeah, Veda. If you're from North India, in the last 1,000 years, you may say Veda, but in Sanskrit, Veda. You may say Ram or Krishna. These are all vernacular words, so they're coming from Sanskrit. So Veda means knowledge. So how do you, if you see a TV, what do you watch on the TV, beginning with V? Vision, right? But what do you watch? I'm watching a video, right? So the word video, vision, vision, like in German, English, Spanish, French. I don't know in Finnish how you say video. Video, they imported the word. So this is coming from Latin because European languages are connected to Sanskrit. So in European languages, you can find many words. Idea, the word idea had a V, ancient language. So it was actually Vidya before, then it became idea. So all of these words, they're coming from the Sanskrit root, Ved, or Vit, which means to see or to know. So why is it that the Vedas sometimes is translated to know, sometimes is translated to see? Because this knowledge is one which when you understand it, then you actually see the truth. It's not just a belief. That's like, how old is this sweet boy here? What's your name? Kabir. Please stand up, Kabir, and wave to everybody in the audience. Please stand. Such a sweet boy. So imagine whoever his parents are, they must be very proud. That's such a nice child. So, my friend, so when you see the tree outside, can you tell me much about the tree, or you don't know much yet? Like which tree is outside? Don't worry, it's not a trick question. Okay. Just, oh, he doesn't believe it. Okay. So he's very young, and he may not be able to explain much about the tree, right? Is anybody here a scientist in the room? Scientist? Anybody? Anybody study biology? So, okay, no scientists today, unfortunately. So a scientist, a biologist, they can explain many things about the tree. Photosynthesis, the roots, the nutrition, nitrogen, so many things which the trees need light. They can give you a 1 hour katha on the tree, right? Vriksha katha. But our sweet boy here, he's very young, so he cannot. But imagine if the scientist needs glasses, very thick glasses, like a strength of 3 or 4, and he has 20/20 vision. In one sense, he sees the tree better than the scientist, right? Isn't it? It's true, right? If you have a 100 megapixel camera, and then you take a picture of the tree, you can even see more detail than a human eye can see, right? Or if you take one piece and put it under a microscope. So one thing is vision, but one thing is knowledge. But when you combine knowledge with vision, just like when a scientist sees a tree, he can understand the tree better than us. Then you can actually see the same thing, but in a new way. So therefore, the Vedas explain spirituality is not about having some hallucinations by taking LSD. Does anyone know what is LSD? It's not popular anymore. The hippie era has finished. So nowadays, it's more like social media as a new drug, unfortunately. Including for me, unfortunately, what to do. So you can take LSD and then you'll see many new things, right? But Veda is saying that you don't need to see anything new, but you need to have a new perspective on what you see. That's the difference. There's no requirement to experience, you don't need to see Krishna dancing, but if you have knowledge, then you can see Krishna everywhere, automatically. And then as you advance, directly Krishna will come and manifest through you. So this is the process of kavi, of knowledge, one who knows everything. So Krishna is the one who delivers all of these great texts in the world. If you think about the world, there are many ancient traditions, right? Can anyone name an ancient tradition? Nobody? Yeah? Zarathustra, right? From Iran. From Zoroastrianism, right?
Yeah, Zoroastrian.
So thank you. See, such a wonderful answer. Thank you. Anybody else can say anything? Like from South America? Chahuas? They're from Uruguay? And Mapuche from? Chile, okay. Mapuche. Guarani? Brazil, right? Brazil, Paraguay. Then you go to Mexico, you may see the Mayas. If you go to Egypt, you may have seen the pharaohs, right? If you go to ancient Greece, then you see the ancient Greek knowledge. Even in the Scandinavia, they had their own kind of mythologies, their own different ancient systems. So some of them, they only go back like in the last couple of centuries, right? Like one of the most famous tradition now is Mormonism, right? Mormonism, very famous, especially in America. Or Jehovah's Witness. So these are offshoots of Christianity, right? Then if you go back a few more hundred years, then you might see Sikhism. You heard of Sikhism? And if you go back 1700 years, then generally they say that's when the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, came to the planet. We don't know exactly because there's no evidence for Mecca archaeologically, but we know roughly when he arrived. And then, but in his time, there was a lot of things are confusing, so no one knows the exact time. Then Jesus, they say roughly around 2000 years, right? So Orthodox calendar, they calculate differently, but for the West, they say 2000 years. And then if you go back even more up to 3000 years, then you may see Buddhism, right? Buddhism. I'm not sure exact date, but roughly 3. Is it before Christianity? Then if you go back a little bit further, you may find Judaism, right? So there are many ancient knowledge systems. And then if you keep going back, you may see Zarathustra, right? Part of the Zoroastrian tradition, which does not exist much anymore due to political conquest from the Middle East. It was destroyed. It was a formal world religion based on the Vedas. So the Zoroastrianism is based on Parsi, ancient Parsi, which is coming from the Sanskrit culture. Then if you keep going back in time, then the oldest tradition you find in the world is the Vedic tradition. Some people will say, no, that's not true, but they don't have evidence for anything else from before. But they will just want to doubt it, because otherwise it has a very powerful weight if you say something is the oldest. Not only is it the oldest, but it's the longest continually practiced tradition in the world, this Vedic knowledge. And not only that, but it's regularly updated. Just like the Bhagavad Gita was spoken 5,000 years ago, but there are other texts that are spoken much more than that. The Bhagavad Gita is very recent in the Vedic canon. So it's regularly updated. And then not only that, but Krishna sends the Guru, the Acharya, to update it again and again. So this is the very powerful tradition. There is nothing in the world which can compare to this ancient Vedic tradition. And Krishna says that Vedaham Samatitani, that actually all of these Vedas, Vedanta Krit Veda Videvacham. He's the knower of the Vedas, he's the compiler of the Vedas, and he's the first teacher of this ancient Vedic tradition. So that, therefore, we can continue to the second point, which is very similar, that Puranam, one who is the oldest. So therefore, we hear in the Brahma Samhita. Anyone heard of this text? So therefore it explains there that God or Krishna, the nature of God, this is not to say only Krishna, what is the name? Allah, Unkulu, who else could you say? Jehovah, they are all fake and only Krishna is the one true God. The Vedic position understands that there is one sun, but it's described in many ways. The sun in the sky, according to age, according to culture, according to education level, is described in different ways, but there is only one God. So therefore, when you're talking about God, God is the most perfect and complete, right? Everyone will accept around the world. So therefore, the explanation or the definition of God, which is the most perfect and the most complete, that would be the most appropriate one to study, right? Just by basic logic. So Purana means one who is the oldest. So the first person in existence. Adyam, Purana Purusham. Purana Purusham means the most ancient person. Adi means the first. So it's not like the brand, you know, Adidas, the brand, the nice shoes. So that's just by chance. But it's a good name. Adi means like God. Adyam you see here. And then Das means servant. So it's actually a very good name, Adidas. But I don't think they meant that. I think it's pronounced Adidas even. I'm not a big fan of their shoes. So, and then anybody practice yoga here? We have, I think, one yoga teacher here. I think there's another one also. And you said also another one is teaching. Rasha Yoga, but he's gone. He lives somewhere else. And then we have also a very famous Finnish devotee called Jayananda, right? And he's Gokul Chandra from Finland. Yeah. So Finland actually is one of the best places outside of India to study yoga. The asana outside of yoga. What's his name? Hans? Yeah, Brigupati Prabhu. Brigupati Prabhu. One of the top scholars in the whole country of Finland on yoga. He's taken as authority by the country. He did a study and they found that Finland has one of the highest levels of yoga practitioners in the whole of Europe. So it's very nice. So the scripture of yoga is called Yoga Sutra. And there the same thing. Those of you who study the Yoga Sutras, it's also described that Ishvara, 5 characteristics. One of them, that the first teacher, the teacher of the ancients. So this is number 2. Number 3, that Anushasitaram. So one who is the controller of everything. So we know about this word controller, right? But generally when we think of control, we become very scared, right? Oh no, control. I'm very scared of control, right? But actually control is not bad, but people who have a negative take on control, they're considered to be bad. But control, for instance, if you cannot control when you need to, do something, then you'll just be running around like a dog, right? Chasing things, misbehaving. So when the mind tells you to do something, you have to control the mind, right? If the mind says, you already had 2 ice creams, but have 1 more, it's very tasty. You have to control yourself, otherwise you may get diabetes, right? If you have some nice fried bread with vegetable inside, also known as pakora, then if you eat too many, then you may have problems, right, with your digestion. If you do it too regularly, you may have blockages. Your arteries may become blocked with all of that seed oil, fat, etc. Right? So you have to be very careful to control. Sometimes a friend does something, like maybe draws a nice picture. They say, I'm a new artist. For 10 years I've been working as a doctor. Now I want to become a painter. So then they draw. They say, please sit in the chair and I will draw you. So then they draw you in the chair. And then you see the picture and you're like, what the flip is this? This guy is really bad at drawing. But you have to control your mind and control your tongue. Say, whoa, such a good job, my friend, beautiful. Even though inside you may be thinking this painting is better to be used in the bathroom as toilet paper. Such a horrible painting. But you have to control your tongue, right? Otherwise you can destroy people just by using harsh language, harsh words, harsh things. So control is one of the most important elements of reality. If we want to build a dam, if we don't have control of the water, what will happen to Helsinki? It will become flooded, right? If you do not have control of our heating system, then our poor brahmacharis and monks and people living upstairs, they can freeze to death. It's a very cold country, Finland. Luckily right now it's fine, but in a few months it will be really, very, really cold. Thick snow, right?
Yes.
So therefore, having control of things is actually good, but nowadays control is misused. So therefore, Krishna, we have to clarify that Krishna is not a despotic controller. A despot means one who acts according to their whims. So we see many despotic rulers in the modern age, in America, in different countries. I don't know exactly, Russia, you can say, Venezuela, different places. I'm not trying to get into politics here, just naming some for the sake of the talk. So there are many rulers who are very despotic and they do very nasty things. You can all think in your mind which one you can think of. And then the Srimad Bhagavatam explains that Krishna is actually the Dharma Rajasya Shasanam. He's the one who is giving the control through the kingdom or the government of Dharma. So Anushasitam means one who is controlled, but Krishna doesn't control despotically. Krishna controls through Dharma. Dharma means the balance of the universe, the law of the universe, the goodness of the universe. Sometimes they say, oh, it's very contradictory. Are things good because God says they're good? Because if God says tomorrow rape is okay, does it become okay? What do you think? Are things good because God says so? What do you think? Who says yes? That's option one. Option two is things are good. God says they're good because they're inherently good. For instance, God doesn't say this is good because I say so. God says because this is good, therefore I support it. So who thinks option one? Things are good because God says they're good. Option number one. And then option number two, who thinks things are good inherently and then God says that they're good to support them. Option number two, what is it? It's not easy, right? Many of you didn't put your hand up. So luckily, this is not a medieval religious institution where if you give the wrong answer, you get in big trouble. Here, if you give the wrong answer, you get a prize. You know what the prize is? You get extra dessert. The one who says, I don't like this philosophy, I don't believe in it, say, no problem, we'll give you some nice food. Because we're all family. So if you bring family over, everyone should eat together, right? So this is our philosophy. So Krishna is the one who is giving the Shastra, Shasitaram. Shas means, this Sanskrit root means to control. So the book by which society should be controlled is the book of Dharma, the book of goodness, the book of spirituality. So don't worry, sometimes people in Europe become very scared, but in the Old Testament, in the Quran, there's a lot of promotion of slavery. So I'm very scared. If you say Dharma book is good, then don't worry, there's no slavery or such concepts in these texts. You can read and then study them. So the answer is for these two. This is called the, I forget the word, but in Greek philosophy, somebody asked this, the dilemma, Euthyphro dilemma. So it's a big problem for scholars in the West to decide on this point. But the conclusion of these two is that things are good because God says they're good, or does God say they're good because they're good? The answer is that God is a personification of goodness. Therefore, there is no artificial duality between saying this is good and that is not good. God is a personification of goodness. Therefore, things are good because God says they're good, because that's his nature. So he will not change and say tomorrow rape is fine. If they're infidel, then rape is okay. God will never say that. Why? Because he is goodness personified. So if he says something against goodness, then he's not God. So that's the conclusion. So therefore we may wonder, so what is the governmental position? So Vedic philosophy teaches as an ideal. Prabhupada said in the modern age it's not possible to do this. But in the ancient times it was a constitutional monarchy. In other words, you have the ancient Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and through the beautiful example of these kind, compassionate, but very strong, who know how to maintain control. Lord Ram was very sweet, but he also knew how to maintain control. So constitutional monarchy, how to keep society run by that thing. So this is another point. So therefore, coming to the next point, that what is the true meaning then of hierarchy? Society, we see that systems of control, right? Anybody does business here? Anybody runs a business? So in the business sphere, you have to be very respectful to your boss, right? What will happen, my friend with the hat, if you're disrespectful to your boss? Huh?
I'm the boss.
Oh yeah, there's two of you with the hat in a straight line. Sorry, I didn't even see it. Yeah. Okay, you at the back then. Okay, you. Do you have a boss? You work or you study? Yeah. So if you disrespect your boss and you insult him, what may he do?
You say we can go.
Yeah, he may fire you, right?
Fire.
So in hierarchy, we are very scared sometimes of hierarchy. That's why socialism became popular, because hierarchy can be abused. But Krishna is teaching that hierarchy means that there should be God at the center. In other words, goodness at the center. So here in Greek means God, and archos means order or progression. So it means God should be on the top, not your boss. So we'll continue on to number 4. That Krishna is the smallest of the small. So why? Because all the universes which exist in the world, they exist within him. And at the same time, Krishna is present in every single atom, in every single element in this universe, in the watch, in the computer, in your heart. Everything is contained within Krishna, yet Krishna is contained also within everything. That's called Mahato Mahiya and Anoraniyam. These are the two apparently contradictory qualities of God. So once they asked Srila Prabhupada, they said, how do I know if Krishna is powerful? Prabhupada said, he is the most powerful. So then they said, so if Krishna is the most powerful, can he create a rock which is so heavy that he cannot lift it? Have you heard this story before?
No.
So anyone has the answer? Is either yes or no. Can he create a rock which is so heavy he cannot lift it? Young boy? Yeah?
Young boy. Yes.
Huh?
The answer is yes.
So,
Yes.
because if he can, then if he can create a rock so heavy he can't lift it, that means he's not all powerful because he can't lift it, right? And if he say no, he cannot create a rock which is so powerful he cannot lift it, it means he can lift anything, but he cannot create a specific type of rock. So then Srila Prabhupada said, the answer is that Krishna is so powerful, he can create a rock and then it will be too heavy to lift. I cannot lift. But then he'll lift it anyway. Because God is not linear. We have this misconception that because you see in these ancient texts, God does crazy things. He lifted a mountain with his small finger. Therefore, he is not God because it's against the laws of nature. So the God has a big problem because when he does something outside of the laws, we say he doesn't exist. And then when he does something in the laws, then we say, no, he's an ordinary human being. There's nothing special about him, right? That's like Jesus did many miracles, but they say, no, he's just an ordinary man. He didn't do anything special. The miracles are made up. So actually Krishna has this issue, but actually Krishna is the creator of the laws, and one who creates the laws is beyond the laws, right? So if he's beyond the laws, he can act outside of the laws, isn't it? So it's very simple. So that's what this number 4 means. Smaller than the smallest. Then number 5, the maintainer of everything. So we can see on the slide, everything is maintained by him. Everything and everyone, they are maintained by God. Because God is that essence, energetic essence, and the force is explained in Brahma Samhita, which is holding everything together. That's called Haladar, Balaram. That particular Shakti, it was holding everything together. So energy and the laws of nature and force is also controlled by Krishna through Shakti. Shakti means potency. So he maintains by coming as avatar. It's like Krishna comes, different avatars come to maintain the universe, to maintain the law of Dharma. Through the different teachers, the prophets, the monks, the sages. And then also through these ancient texts, these ancient books of transcendental knowledge, then one can also be maintained. They can maintain their peace, society can be maintained, everything can be maintained. And then the foundation of all, which is that Krishna is the energetic essence which is holding everything together in an ontological sense, in a what you can call very ancient quantum physics kind of sense. So therefore Krishna maintains everyone, and he's also the relative of all, right? Generally we say my father maintains me, my mother maintains me. And Krishna explains in the Gita ultimately, Pitaham Asya Jagato, I'm the father of the universe, and the mother, Mata and Dhata. So the same word we see in Dhata. And then Krishna also has a form which is inconceivable. So this is also a very important point. So I will just skip a little bit forward for time. So we hear from the ancient scriptures these two explanations of Krishna. Why is his form inconceivable? Because one reason is that it is explained we have 5 senses, right? So we can only do one thing with our eyes, which is see. But Krishna is so powerful, he can hear through his eyes. He can taste through his touch. So that's the first line, that Krishna's senses are so powerful, they can experience everything. And then the second one is, it explains Advaitam Achyutam Anandam Ananta Rupam, that Krishna has forms which are all one, but they appear to us as different, but Krishna is one. And those forms are infallible, which means that they are not material and that they have no beginning. In other words, they are not created, but they eternally manifest according to time, place, and circumstance. Krishna may appear, but the forms in the spiritual world are eternal. And then the second last one is Krishna is like the sun. So Krishna is like the sun. Why? Because the sun gives light. The sun gives heat. So this is one of the greatest things which are maintaining us, is the heat and light of the sun. So the Chaitanya Charitamrita explains, Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hayandakar, that just like when there is darkness, then there is no light. But when Krishna is present, there is no darkness. So Krishna is luminous like the sun, both physically, because he has a spiritual body with so much light, but also because he illumines the universe through knowledge. So I will just continue one more, the last one. Number 8, that Krishna is transcendental to matter. So you see this beautiful painting? So you can see that Krishna has the ability to take on different forms. He has the ability to do things which are beyond the laws of matter, just like lifting of the Govardhan hill. Krishna was tried, many demons, they tried to attack Krishna, the greatest demons in the universe, they were unsuccessful. So therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam explains that Namostute Keshava Madhavaya, this is the creator of the universe, he's saying, Brahma, Gopishwaraya Paripurnataya, that obeisance is unto you, the complete Lord of all beings, whose form is beyond my understanding. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm not sure, we don't have time for question, right? So now we'll continue on with the Arati. So please stand up.